Ms. Clerk, Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Notice is hereby given that Charleston County Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, December 12th at 6:30 regarding an ordinance amending ordinance number 2185, the business license ordinance of the County of Charleston, to update the class schedule as required by the South Carolina Business License Tax Standardization Act.
Do we have any?
We have one person, Anthony G. Bryant.
Thank you. Ms. Bryant, please give us your address.
You will get that. Anthony G. Bryant, 2123 Cortland Avenue, Charles, South Carolina 29403, not 2125 Cortland. The question before me is, before you is, in 1998 to 2012, the Department of Revenue had a hack of their computers. And many people were affected with the EIN numbers, which is their business corporate information. And the Secretary of State of South Carolina has not reconciled someone's S corporation for 30 years. But the person was taxed and feed by the Department of Revenue, by you, by the City of Charleston and others. So the question becomes, what notices the county give to the state regarding any error that the state makes or the IRS makes, which partners with the county at the library and other places on several issues. So the question becomes, you're the facilitator for 3,000 counties throughout America, 17 municipalities throughout America, with FCC 230, the internet, social media platforms that you're on, Instagram, YouTube, and I hear no notice yet about the community standards and none of them. So at these meetings, you have never given, not one day, the community standards of social media companies, which the IRS is on, which the FBI is on, everybody else is on. So what I'm telling you is this is a serious issue regarding this hack that took place. U.S. Secret Service has not even provided a report to the public yet from 10 years ago in terms of this issue. And I've been affected by this personally.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. Next public hearing.
Notice is hereby given that Charleston County Council will hold a public hearing regarding an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance to Further Amend the Agreement for the Establishment of a Multi-County Industrial Business Park for Properties Located in a Redevelopment Project Area."
We have one person signed up, Mr. Bryant.
Also want to be Anthony G. Bryant again, 2123 Cortland Avenue, South Carolina 29403, since 1968. So this issue with these incentives, again, these multi-jurisdictional issues, all of this development taking place within the comprehensive plan since 1994 was growth. Was never clearly defined by the state in terms of any enforcement of the Plan Enabling Act, ever. The state never, ever provided any enforcement guidance to any appointed board. When I served on the board from 1999 to 2006. And so this growth issue has to be defined or is some type of ordinance or some type of resolution from this body, which is one of the growingest counties in America. And as you look at Trooper Bob's thing, the Trooper Bob guy, he had all the home values. I remember back in 1990, we sold houses for $60,000 in Charleston. It's the 1990s. Now we're looking at a serious problem with these incentives. And I'm not knocking the incentives. I'm not knocking what you're doing. The question is, does it really create a job? Because someone pays taxes, then that job they have go back into the system. If you give Boeing some money or developers some money, it's in lieu of them paying taxes, right? So the question becomes, when are we going to get serious about developing some comprehensive ordinances to clearly define what growth is going into the going to the next decade in terms of rezoning, census tracts, voting rights, and whatever. This is where the rubber meets the road at, and land use policies. This is how we decide who's going to be here, who can afford to be here, who can vote for you or vote you out.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. Third one.
Charleston County Council will hold a public hearing regarding a request to rezone TMS 203-0000048 and 053 from low-density residential R4 to Island Park Place Medical Health and Wellness Village Plan Development PD 187.
Good evening. Like Kristen said, this is a request to rezone TMS 203-00000048 and 053 from the R4 zoning district to PD 187, the Island Park Place Medical Village Plan Development. The subject properties were zoned agricultural general until the 2001 adoption of the ZLDR, when they were rezoned to RSL, which was later renamed to R4. Some of you may recall back in 1999, the county adopted its first comprehensive plan, which included a suburban and rural edge that split the county between a rural area and a suburban area. The subject properties were located right on the boundary of that edge in the suburban area, while the properties across Betsy Carrison remained in the rural area. And this suburban rural edge would eventually become what we now know as the urban growth boundary. The property owner held a planning commission workshop about this proposed PD back in November of 2021, where commissioners and community members alike expressed a number of concerns, including the lack of sewer capacity, building height, and increased traffic. Many residents were concerned about the scale of the proposed development in this particular area, and many residents felt like a development like this should be located on an existing commercial corridor or node, such as along Maybank Highway. Here you can see the property location within the county. The future land use designation of the subject parcels are urban suburban mixed use. And the subject properties are largely undeveloped with a 75-foot power line easement running through them. Properties to the north, you can see, are zoned neighborhood commercial and are developed with office buildings, housing professional office space. These two parcels were originally a single parcel, which was approved to be rezoned from low-density suburban to the commercial transition district in 2004. When the commercial transition district was eliminated, it reverted back to the neighborhood commercial district. Parcel 203-00000062, one of those NC lots to the north, was subdivided in 2018 to create the two existing lots as office space in the NC zoning district. And I do want to note that office space in that district is limited to 5,000 square feet of maximum floor area. The property to the south is zoned low-density residential and is largely undeveloped apart from the same 75-foot wide power easement. And properties to the east of parcel 048 are zoned R4 and are developed with single-family detached homes and manufactured housing. Properties to the east of parcel 053 is zoned PD 2070, the Hope Plantation development, and is developed with a golf course. The subject properties are located within flood zone shaded X. Here's an aerial view to the north, to the south. And these are photos of the subject property and adjacent properties, as well as properties across Betsy Carrison Parkway. Here's a conceptual site plan depicting 14 buildings and a parking garage. In this comparison of land uses, the R4 district is very limited in the types of uses allowed by right, meaning without conditions or special exception approval. Primarily what you're going to see in the R4 district are single-family residential homes with some allowances for civic and residential scale supporting businesses. The proposed PD would allow for a myriad of healthcare uses as well as restaurants and retail sales. The R4 dimensional standards shown here are for the development of by right single-family residences. Any other uses developed in R4 would be subject to the Chapter 9 development standards, including variable buffer widths. And then you can see to the right are the proposed PD 185 dimensional standards. The applicant is proposing a maximum of 18 dwelling units of multifamily style to be located above office and retail space. 7 acres of open space, a maximum 159,846 square feet of buildings, and 55,000 square feet of reserved area for the on-site wastewater treatment system. A traffic study was conducted and recommended a southbound left turn lane and northbound right turn lane from Betsy Carrison into the site, as well as on the site left and right turn lanes onto Betsy Carrison. The applicant did provide responses to the approval criteria. Though staff found that approval criteria B was not met due to the scale of the proposed development, as well as the existing land use pattern in the immediate vicinity of the proposed development. Like I mentioned, the scale and intensity of the proposed development is incompatible with the existing land use pattern of the area and is therefore inconsistent with the comprehensive plan future land use recommendation. Therefore, staff recommends disapproval. However, if the proposed plan development were to be approved, staff recommends the following conditions: providing updated letters of coordination for utility and service providers, revising the square footages to be maximums, revising language to state that accessory structures will be allowed pursuant to the ZLDR, revising language to state that building height shall be whichever is less of the stated requirements, providing a minimum lot area and width based on the GO district, reducing the impervious surface area to 70%, including a maximum building coverage of 40%, removing the statement standards not addressed shall comply with the GO district, stating that the sidewalk in the Betsy Carrison right-of-way will be constructed and inspected or / accepted by the county for maintenance prior to the issuance of the first certificate of occupancy, and revise the language to state that if not developed under the PD, the R4 requirement shall apply. At the November 13th Planning Commission, the Planning Commission voted to disapprove the proposal, recommend disapproval for the proposal. At the November 13th Planning Commission, 13 people spoke in opposition to the request. The applicant and 9 members of the design team spoke in support of the request, along with 1 member of the public. Ahead of that Planning Commission meeting as well, 4 letters of support, 106 letters of opposition, and 2 letters with general comments were received. Prior to tonight, 8 letters in support were received, as well as 256 letters in opposition and 2 letters of general comment. In addition, the town of Kiowa Island also submitted the results of a survey that they conducted with the following results. A total of 881 Kiowa Island full-time property owners and part-time property owners responded to the survey. The key data points include almost 80% of respondents said that they do not favor the proposed health and wellness village development, in addition to the MUSC and Trident facilities coming to the area. More than 80% did not feel the size of the project was appropriate for the area. More than 70% did not feel the development would provide the community with access to adequate medical care. Survey results suggest that the respondents are concerned about potential traffic as well as noise and light pollution from the development. Regarding impact on the community's quality of life, about 21% felt it would have a positive impact, 75% a negative impact, and 3% saw no impact. Overall, approximately 77% of residents indicated that they opposed the rezoning proposal, and approximately 22% were in favor. In the comment section, those who were in favor felt this development would bring more accessible medical services to the area and less traffic off-island. Those who were opposed to the development raised concerns about the size of the project, its environmental impact, uses beyond medical-related services, and increase in traffic. Many felt it was not needed with the MUSC and Trident facilities coming to the area. This request was noticed as required.
We have 34 people signed up to speak. The first person is Anthony G. Bryant.
Thank you, Ms. Nguyen. Good job. Thank you.
As a former member of the Board of Zoning Appeals in '99, when they did this ordinance, again, we're going back, looking back at that ordinance before some of y'all even got here, when they thought about coming here. That was a concern. urban growth boundary line was a concern. And the state has got MUSC, right? State Ports Authority, all these are state entities, College of Charleston, all state entities with no guidance from who fund them directly. So it's a much more broader problem, in my opinion, in terms of what this county should do and planning staff should do to at least get something to the state, letting them know, well, you're inducing the problem. Okay, you have non-taxable entities, right, inducing this. So MUSC and Trident have induced the problem. They're not a part of mitigating the problem, they're inducing the problem. You the Ports Authority downtown and Union Pier, right? So 99 Planning and Enabling Act was a failure. And this is evidence of it being a failure, and somebody got to have the courage to say it's a failure.
The next person is Debbie Ross, followed by David DeStefano, and then John Williams. Debbie Ross?
When she calls out several names, would y'all get ready to come up and speak when we've got 30-something people for this public hearing? Thank you.
Hello, can you understand me with my mask?
Could
you
you
like me
speak
to
closer
remove-
to the microphone?
My name is Debbie Ross, and I'm a full-time resident of Kiowa Island. I'm in favor of the Island Medical Health and Wellness Village. In February of 2023, my husband was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. April 2023, I was diagnosed with DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis, and I'm now diabetic type 1. Moving here in March 2023, we are healthy, newly retired seniors with no prior risk factor to these or any other health issues. Throughout this year, we have traveled to Charleston, West Ashley, Mount Pleasant, Somerville for well over 100-plus visits to 3 hospital ICUs, doctor's appointments dealing with surgery, radiation, chemo, endocrine treatments, labs, and management of these unexpected health issues. I believe as we all age, preventative and alternative health and wellness services and supportive health and wellness retail will become an asset and benefit to our community and future medical systems. Both of us having a healthy diet and lifestyle gave us an advantage to fight and manage these very challenging health issues. Reducing our driving times from a round trip of 2 to 3 hours to 20 minutes, thereby avoiding unexpected delays, would be a huge benefit for us and our community. Last year, we volunteered for schools, community tax preps, turtle and dolphin patrol, current Meals on Wheels. Many of these seniors are concerned with health care and services in this area. With increase in housing development along Main and Maybank, traveling to these services would become increasingly difficult. In addition to allowing health and wellness businesses to have ownership of their spaces, will allow permanent health and wellness businesses to establish roots. As a side note, home health care or senior community center would also provide additional services to aid our community. South Carolina is known for its hospitality. Let us be known for health and wellness as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Ross.
Next is David DeStefano, John Williams, Rich Thomas.
David DeStefano, 31 Burroughs Hall, Kiowa Island. I'm a member of the KICA Board of Directors. I'm here personally not representing the Kiowa Board of Directors. There's been a lot of, you've got much information, a lot of opposition to this. People want more health care. One of the things that most people that I've talked to don't realize that the MUSC facility is going to have 15,000 square feet of medical offices, including CAT scan, laboratory services, et cetera. And that they're going to have many specialties coming in as needed. So there is going to be a very big increase in healthcare when that facility is built. It's right at Seabrook and Kiowa. Also, we've got Freshfields Village, which has got some medical offices in there now. Andel West is coming online in a few years, and they will have more space for this type of facility. This proposal is just huge. It's got almost 600 parking spaces in it. So that's not just going to be for medical care. And their customers are going to have to come down from Johns Island. They don't like coming in that direction. There's nothing there. So most of their traffic isn't going to be Seabrook and Kiowa. It's going to be coming down from Johns Island and just exacerbating the traffic on Betsy Kerrison, River Road, and Bohicket. The Trident facility can take care of the people closer to Maybank, and the MUSC facility can take care of the people Kiowa, Seabrook, and the lower part of Johns Island. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
John Williams, Rich Thomas, Donna Wyndham.
John Williams, 2014 Somerton Court, Panopolis, South Carolina. Mr. Chairman, members of council, thank you all for the opportunity to present this project to you. I am the applicant on behalf of the property owner, Mr. John Skurchek. Mr. Skurchek lives in this area where this project is proposed, and you will hear more from him tonight. This project site is located conveniently in the Johns Island, Kiowa, and Seabrook areas. It's in unincorporated Charleston County inside the urban growth boundary. As you all know, the urban growth boundary was set 24 years ago, and that was certainly a consideration in Mr. Skurchek selecting this site. Another added benefit of this location is to redirect traffic away from West Ashley, Mount Pleasant, and the peninsula, and to bring the medical services to where the people reside. This project, as you heard, was presented to the Planning Commission about 2 years ago, and since that time, and based on the feedback from that meeting, Mr. Skurchek and members of the team have had over a dozen meetings with individuals, community leaders, and special interest groups. Based on the feedback that they have received and the feedback from the Planning Commission, the size of this project and the scale of this project has been reduced by over 20%. Initially, it was over 200,000 square feet. The project you have before you today is 159,000 square feet. There's been some miscommunication about, I think, what he plans to do there. This has always been a health and wellness village. It is currently a health and wellness village, and tomorrow it will still be proposed as a health and wellness village. This is not a bait and switch. This is not, there's no expectation that any other type of retail will go in this location. Some comments were made about the broadness of these definitions and the broadness in the language of the PD document. Those definitions came directly from the ZLDR manual provided by Charleston County, and those were used based on discussions and conversations that our team had with staff. Lastly, we will all want to avoid, and based on most of the comments that we've heard, we want to avoid an R4 zoning. That's 4 units to the acre on over 17 acres, and this will allow that.
Thank you, sir.
Rich Thomas, Donna Wyndham, Teresa Termine.
Hi, I'm Rich Thomas, 4360 Betsy Carrison. I'm right directly across the road from this proposed development. My driveway comes out in the cut that would also service this development. Staff had it exactly right. This is wrong for the community, wrong for the location. It may be a great idea for some other location, but not this one. 2 major things, 3 actually. The developers had no meetings with me and my immediate neighbors to this project, so there's that. Traffic. Traffic is really bad right now. Since COVID's 3 years ago, a lot of people have moved down, huge amount of development going on in Kiowa and Seabrook, new houses. Traffic is insane. And in that stretch of road, cars, trucks, vehicles all day long, 60, 70 miles an hour. Imagine 500 parking spaces turning over 3 or 4 times a day. This traffic turning across a road that has no signals and traffic moving that fast. There have already been dozens of fatalities along that stretch of the road, crashes with injury. Environmental effects. These are wetlands right now, part of it. Wetlands provide incredible resilience in a hurricane-prone, flood-prone area. And to see that go away would be really sad. I live downhill from this proposed development. It's going to have a huge septic system, no sewer. You know what flows downhill. It's going to flow downhill to my property into the salt marsh. There's no groundwater hydrology study that I'm aware of that speaks to this particular problem. So, I just want to say it's a bad idea for this location. When it comes time, please deny it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
Donna Wyndham, Teresa Termine, Don Thompson.
Donna Wyndham, 4444 Betsy Carrison, Johns Island, South Carolina. I am the Executive Director of the Kiowa Conservancy, and we are in opposition to this proposal. We support your staff's decision 100%. Recently, we are the proud recipients of $1.4 million from Greenbelt funds, as well as state conservation bank funds, to preserve property directly across from this proposed development. We urge you to please do the right thing and not support this project.
Thank you, Ms. Wyndham.
Teresa Termine, Dawn Thompson, Dee Dee Turner.
I'm Teresa Termine. I live at 93 GoldenEye Drive on Kiowa Island. While I'm a consultant to the Kiowa Conservancy, I'm here to speak to you as a resident of Kiowa Island. There's so many reasons why I'm opposed to this upzoning, but I want to speak to you as a caregiver. I'm a caregiver to my 85-year-old mother who is suffering from Alzheimer's. And I certainly need and want medical care for my mother. It is hard to drive an hour outside of Kiowa to receive care. And she fell last year, and I drove an hour to the ER and waited 5 hours in the ER for care for my mother. So care is a deep concern of mine. But this health and wellness village does not answer those needs. There is no requirement that only medical facilities go in, or the kind of urgent care facilities that we desperately need will be provided there. There's nothing to assure me that the care that she needs will be provided by this village, and that will outweigh the environmental impact that it will have. I am opposed to this for environmental reasons. I'm opposed to this for traffic reasons. We have enough traffic on Betsy Carrison going at high rates of speed. I can't imagine how people are going to turn in and out of a medical facility if it is providing medical care. And most importantly, I just feel like we need to focus on the needs of the people who live in the area, and that is urgent care. Those are the cardiologists, the nephrologists, all of the type of medical facilities we need. I need care from my mother that doesn't require me to drive for an hour away, but this isn't going to provide that. And I urge you to please vote no against this upzoning.
Thank you, ma'am.
Dawn Thompson, Dee Dee Turner, Dawn Patch.
Good evening. My name is Donald Thompson. I'm at 2124 River Road. I am a longtime resident, born and raised on Johns Island, second generation. We have never had enough medical facilities on the island, and I think this proposal will give us another entity that we can use for medical facilities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Dee Dee Turner, Dawn Patch, Cindy McKinley.
Good evening. I am definitely opposed to this zoning requirement for Bohicket Road and Betsy Carrington. My name is Dee Dee Turner. I'm at 2874 Bohicket Road. My family still owns about 200 acres of land on Johns Island on Bohicket Road today. When we talk about giving surveys to the community, we give it to Kiowa Island and Seabrook Island. No community folks have received this at all, so we've not responded. This thing that they're building, the medical center that they're building, has no added value. It doesn't do anything for our community. We've got MUSC coming out. We've got the other hospital coming out, and that's what we need. Everybody has said everything that I want to say, and I feel in my heart the traffic on Johns Island, the traffic on Bohicket Road is horrible. We keep talking about Betsy Carrington, but they've got to come through us. They've got to come from the people that actually live on the island. We cannot get out of our driveway. We don't need anything else on Johns Island except a hospital and an ER facility, something that we need. We don't need another Medi-Spa. We don't need another guise for some other organization coming out, putting in buildings. We need affordable housing. And I really beg you, do not approve this again. Enough is enough. We cannot get off the island. It takes me an hour and a half to get here. It is impossible. You've got to stop with all this development on our island. You're tearing us apart. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Turner.
Dawn Patch, Cindy McKinley, Tamara Butler.
Don Patch, 130 Gardner Circle, Johns Island. First of all, thank you, all of you. Every one of you has a difficult, thankless job making very tough decisions about these things. My wife and I moved to Johns Island over 5 years ago. Since we moved here, I've had both my knees replaced. I've had cancer, ablation surgery on my heart. My wife just recently tore her Achilles playing pickleball. All these surgeries required significant follow-up and physical therapy, which required us to travel to Charleston 3 days a week Fortunately, we're both retired, and we were able to make the 45-hour commute each way without significant disruption in our daily life. However, this wellness center is not about us. It's about Johns Island and the Wadmala residents. Surprisingly, over 50% of the population are Medicaid and Medicare recipients. Almost 1/3 of Johns Island and Wadmala Island population rely on Medicaid, and more than 15% live below the poverty line. Convenient access in doctors and ancillary diagnostic, testing, therapeutic services are critical to the health and safety of the elderly and poor populations. The location of the proposed medical offices will help serve all the Johns and Wadmala residents. For many of the vulnerable residents, it will increase convenient access to health care, reduce the time and expense of traveling to doctors and receiving ancillary services and treatments as far away as West Ashley, Charleston, and Mount Pleasant. Finally, the economic impact of the project will be tens of millions of dollars to the region, creating hundreds of jobs, needed tax revenue to support the schools and basic infrastructure for residents of Johns Island. I suspect this project, if it doesn't get approved, this land will just sit vacant for many years and continue to be non-productive from an economic standpoint. Again, thank you for your time and your thankless efforts serving the county. Please consider supporting this. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
Cindy McKinley, Tamara Butler, Todd Campbell.
Cindy McKinley, 4266 Betsy Harrison Parkway. I agree with the other comments about the inappropriate size and scale of this complex and the redundancy of adding medical to an area that will soon have several new medical facilities. I am also concerned with filling in wetlands, especially on a lot located between two river systems. As you know, wetlands are an essential tool to combat flooding. The City of Charleston is currently researching the long-term impacts of developments on nearby properties and updating zoning codes to prevent development in wetlands. I urge County Council to consider similar studies in their decision. It will be far more difficult to mitigate future flooding in a large commercial development than in a low-density residential neighborhood as this property is currently zoned. I also urge the Council to consider the meaning of urban growth on the south side of Johns Island. Most of this area is zoned rural, but because the Kiowa River Estates or Hope Plantation neighborhood existed prior to the creation of the suburban rural edge, a line was drawn around it to account for its density. But when the suburban line designation was replaced with the word urban, the new language created a misnomer that does not represent the largely rural nature of Betsy Harrison Parkway. Urban growth does not belong along this corridor other than in the already developed nodes at Freshfields Village and the intersection of River Road and Bohicket Road. This property is zoned low-density residential, and there must be a compelling reason to change the zoning. In fact, there are a multitude of compelling reasons not to change the zoning. If this plan development is approved, it will forever change the character of this culturally and environmentally sensitive region of Johns Island. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Tamara Butler, Todd Campbell, Amanda Campbell.
Good evening. I'm Tamara Butler. I wear several hats in this community, but today I'm here on behalf of Johns Island residents. My family, we're about 4 generations that are still living to this day on Johns Island. And so I'm here asking that you continue to vote no on this, because one of the things that I'm asking, so that we've had meetings with Mr. Skurchek, we have not heard from him since those meetings. So when we talk about community input, I'd be really curious to see which community members. So how are we defining health and wellness? Under the current zoning, there's community gardens are allowed, community recreation is allowed. So why not supplement, use that, turn it into that kind of space if the space must be manipulated, turn it into a space where you can provide mobile health clinics, where you can provide actual gardens, where you can provide other items, but restaurants, retail, All of that, and also as someone has said, Medi-Spas, we don't need any of those. If we also said, which I thought the gentleman was going to go in one direction, he went another one, in terms of Medicare and Medicaid, those individuals need help, need access to affordable health care. So if you're bringing in people who are going to bring in Botox and other services that no one needs, but we have people who are dealing with cardiac issues, diabetes, high blood pressure. I agree with the resident who spoke earlier about caring for, being a caregiver and having to drive several hours. That was my family story from my grandmother. And so if those resources were available on Johns Island, that would be great. So I encourage you to vote no, because I think that it's really important to understand who is the center for, but also recognizing you can change the land in a way that would supplement what people need when we're talking health and wellness. Also, the last point, increasing traffic increases air pollution. And if you're ripping down all the trees, that's going to kill the air. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Todd Campbell, Amanda Campbell, Mark Beltlow.
Thank you, council members. My name is Todd Campbell. I am a contractor that has been doing business for probably 20, 25 years out on Kiowa Island, so I have seen it grow, and I've seen it continue to grow. When I have a health issue that I need to go to the doctor, whether it be for my heart or my knees or my hands, I have to take a full day off of work because there's no way to go to work, go to a doctor's appointment, and come back. Also, I have 2 retired parents that live out on Kiowa Island, Kiowa River Estates, which I do go pick them up, take them to the doctors. Is another day I have to take off of work. When I found that the health and wellness was going to develop this land out there, I became very involved in wanting to know what was going on, what is happening. And I found out that it's proactive health care, not reactive health care. And what MUSC is going to bring is reactive. Somebody has a heart attack, well, they go there. But the problem with MUSC is they're state funded. They're not even state funded. They own the land. They have a sign there. It's been there for 3 years. We even park there sometimes. We've been using their land as a parking lot for all the contractors when we move in and out from job to job. And it will continue to be that. MUSC has not even been funded yet. This, what I understand, is a funded project. As far as like all the sewage and things that this gentleman was talking about running downhill, the same type of sewage treatment that will be on this facility is the same one as at Kiowa River Estates. It's the same one that's right up the road. Ace Hardware is on that system. If a health and wellness is going to be denied, then they're going to build more homes there. There's going to be traffic. So the traffic issue is not a failure. You need health care for the residents, you need health care for the people that live on the island. And also, we're past my time. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell.
Amanda Campbell, Mark Beltlow, Lee Cobb.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Amanda Campbell, and I live at 4310 Hope Plantation Drive, Kiowa River Estates. This development could literally be in my backyard. I may be able to jog to one of the doctor's offices if they ever get built. Maybe not jog, but I could get there easily. We've lived on the island, my husband and I, for over 15 years. Between the two of us, we probably have 15 to 25 doctors. In any given month, we're up and down Main Road all the time. And you all have said the traffic is horrendous. This development is not going to change that. We're going to have development. You can't stop development. There will be development. There's always going to be traffic. My hope is that with MUSC and this development and other developments that come, they might provide the revenue to help us do something about the roads. As you all know, that's desperately needed. I thank you for the opportunity, and Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mark Beltlow, Lee Cobb, Colley, Farah.
Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Mark Betlow, 67 Fletcher Hall, Johns Island. And on the heels of many who spoke before, including Amanda, I cannot emphasize the importance of having access to healthcare that is close for those of us who do live in the Seabrook, Kiowa, and Johns Islands area. Hip replacement last year that included 15 or 20 different visitations for MRIs out to Mount Pleasant and to Charleston, and a daughter who does have some pretty high medical needs. The need is there, and it is going to be a good thing, and the building is going to come. It's not going to change anything, and we're not asking for anything other than just to listen to the people who are in need of this and to put something there I think everybody will benefit from. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Lee Cobb, Collie Farah, Jim Hart.
Good evening, my name is Lee Cobb. Thank you for listening to us all tonight. Sorry. I fully support the staff's report. I think this development is way too big for Betsy Carrison. I am very concerned about the size of the development, the parking, 557 or whatever it is, parking slots that will turn over multiple times a day is of real concern for traffic, but it's also concern for runoff. There'll be an enormous amount of impervious surfaces, and that will increase runoff, particularly in a low-lying marshland, and for poor Rich Thomas living across the street, it will be an issue. And I know there is a plan for a private septic wastewater treatment system, but the gentleman referred to Kiowa River. This is a little different. It will have medical waste, and that is of real concern for the ecosystem and the water system. In addition to the runoff, the filling in of the wetlands is of real concern, and there will be habitat loss and fragmentation, as Donna Wyndham expressed. The Kiowa Conservancy, on whose board I serve, although I'm not representing them tonight, has really tried to maintain the character of Betsy Carrison through its efforts at conservation across the street. And this development is just way too big, and it is not clear that will answer needs in addition to what is already going to be available at MUSC and Trident. So I urge you to reject.
Thank you.
Collie Farah, Jim Hart, Maria Hart.
Good evening, and thank you. My name is Collie Farah, 3293 River Road, also a staff member of the Kiowa Conservancy. There are many reasons not to approve this development. I don't want to restate what everybody's already been saying, but there is a rural and cultural nature that defines the Low Country, defines Johns Island. We're not necessarily against development. We're just for the right development. We have to learn to grow with the environment and not against it. There is a better place for this kind of project. It is not for Betsy Carrison Parkway, at least in the middle, maybe a more commercialized area, but not here, for the environment, for the people, for the culture. Thank you.
Jim Hart, Maria Hart, Sherry Crabtree.
Good evening. My name is Jim Hart. I live at 2230 River Road. I'm a third-year generation Johns Islander. My grandfather lived out there. My parents lived out there. I took care of my mom, who passed away 2 years ago, and then my sister, who passed 10 months after that. And it was countless visits each week to West Ashley, downtown, a few in Mount Pleasant, just depending on what they needed at the time. And there were days where we'd go to leave the island, there would be an accident on one bridge, which then created chaos and tie-up at another bridge, and you just couldn't get off the island. You would sit in traffic for 3-5 hours. So when someone's sitting in my car and they're in pain, the best thing for me to do is turn around and get them home. So we were denied health care, and Johns Island is in desperate need of health care. You know, we can sit here and say what MUSC may or may not do. I don't know, or you know what if Trident's ever going to go in. But you know, this is another option. I live on River Road. I can go the opposite direction of where all the traffic is just built up, and I could have gotten them there in a sooner quicker manner, and I just feel like we're ignoring that. I would also like to share that I sent an email to staff yesterday with petitions that were signed by at least 80-plus Johns Island residents who are in support of this. So I'm a little disappointed that that didn't get brought up this evening in the notes. I feel like staff should have brought that up. No one acknowledged my email, even though I sent it and asked for an acknowledgement. So if you need it, please let me know. I'm happy to send it again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Maria Hart, Sherry Crabtree, Alex Fernandez.
My name is Maria Hart. I live at 2230 River Road. I will make this very brief because it has already been stated many times. I feel that the island needs this facility. It really, really needs this facility. I'm a third generation. I learned just recently that I used to play out on River Road because the cars would come every 10 minutes. So I had plenty of time to play out on the road. Now it's about 10 seconds. 10 seconds, if you even get that break to hear the birds. So traffic has always been a thing. It's always been a thing, and it's not going away. And if this isn't developed to help the community, to provide jobs and resources and preventative care for the community, it's going to be houses. It's going to be more houses. So I don't think traffic is really a big discussion here. I don't even think conservation is even much of a discussion here because they don't seem to be limiting any building on Johns Island. I've lived where I am personally in this place for 20 years, and I now have a development right beside me. I have neighbors now. Didn't want them, and that's okay, you know? But that's the way it goes. Development is happening, especially on the front end, and now that it's starting to end on or come up on the back end, people are kind of coming up and say, oh, wait, we don't want it in our backyard. We don't want it next to us. But it's still happening because people want to move out here and be part of Johns Island, and that's fine. That's fine. But there's going to be traffic. There's going to be development. This medical center will help everybody on the island. It will provide jobs for people on the island. If it's not that, it's another community. It's going to be more cars. It's going to be more traffic. That cannot be avoided. It's going to be something. It's going to be developed. Let us help the community and be something for the community instead of just more houses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sherry Crabtree, Alex Fernandez, Brad McElvain.
Hello, my name is Sherry Crabtree. I own property at 4337 Betsy Carson Parkway. I currently live on Wamala. I chose to speak tonight in favor of the Island Park Place because I see a bigger picture. I don't just see adults, I see the children, and they are the next generation coming up. There's so many facilities that want to push medicine on these kids, and I don't think that's okay. I personally myself would choose wellness instead of medicine for my daughter who it has helped instead of putting her on medicine. So, so I would choose the wellness. As far as the traffic and the wetlands and all this, I don't think that's actually an issue anymore. River Road's about to get blown up with more houses and such too, so nobody said anything about that. For the park place to go where it's at, I think it's a perfect place because it is taking the traffic away from people coming and going on the island. It takes hours to get on and off this island. Kids are in the car with their parents. Their parents get home, they're frustrated, they're tired, they want to sleep, or they have no energy getting up early just to miss traffic. Nobody's looking at that. Nobody's seeing these kids, but yet they're suffering for it. So I hear the adults talking, and I get it, but who has kids? Who on Kiowa took the survey has kids? Nobody is thinking about them. That's not okay, because they're the ones that's suffering. Quality of life is so important, and I really believe that this facility will have what we need for that. As far as Trident MUSC, I've had a personal experience at Trident with my daughter, and I will not go to Trident. I want to have another option, and I don't want medicine for it like that medicine, because that almost killed my daughter, and that's not okay either. So I would please urge you, I beg you to please reconsider passing this so that they can vote on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Crabtree.
Alex Fernandez, Brad McElvain, Ashley Demosthenes.
Good evening, members of the council. My name is Alex Fernandez. I live at 418 Snow Egret, Key Island. It's difficult to argue against a healthcare facility. But if you get into the details of this project, you'll see that this is just not a healthcare facility. It goes way, way beyond that. And that's why I'm here to oppose this facility. You have to understand the parcels that the facilities will be built on are presently zoned for 53 single-family homes. The proposed development, as has been stated, is to build 557 parking spots. You can imagine, 53 single-family homes will never generate 557 parking spots. That's what we're talking about. This is to impact a road that is already burdened with high traffic. The location of the proposed development is also surrounded by other single-family homes, agricultural land, and it would be totally out of step with the area. Clearly, there will be an environmental impact due to its proximity to wetlands, the private wastewater treatment plant, and the cutting of grand trees. In the manner this project is presented, I believe you need to oppose it. I urge the council to follow the recommendations of the staff and the vote of the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Brad McIlvain, Ashley Demosthenes, and Roberta Nelson.
Brad McIlvain, 146 Blue Heron Pond Road on Kiowa. I also urge to support what the staff has said is the rejection. Two things have been raised by almost everybody. One is traffic in the area. And I think we all recognize that traffic is a huge problem in this area and it needs a more global solution. But adding this will not help. It will only hurt traffic. There needs to be a global solution. There's also been raised that if this isn't built, then it reverts back to R4. The question is, what does that really mean? That means probably with all the restrictions, it's been looked at with all the restrictions, because remember, we have a power line running through it. We have issues with regarding sewage and stuff like that. Maybe 36 homes could be built there. So you're looking at 36 homes. So they keep saying, well, there's going to be all this traffic from the housing that could be developed there. That's all you're looking at is 36 homes probably. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ashley Demosthenes, Roberta Nelson, Guy Samson.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, council members and staff. My name's Ashley Demosthenes. I serve as the president and CEO of Low Country Land Trust. We're a local land trust based in Charleston with deep roots and history in working on the Sea Islands, Johns Island and Wadmalaw in particular. We have invested heavily, you have as well, as council members through your Greenbelt program. The State Conservation Bank has also made significant investments in land on Johns Island, including land that was zoned for development. Not one person tonight has talked about an alternative that does not include commercial development or residential development, and that includes conservation, which I would also argue is critical. It's not a luxury, it is critical for health and wellness, and open space is proven to do that. The rezoning of Betsy Carson Parkway parcels from low-density residential to large-scale commercial use is not an example of smart growth. Low Country Land Trust supports smart growth. We also support good planning. You have a plan. It's a good one. This area is not a commercial node. It cannot support the added pressure of the traffic, as we talked about. Lastly, the proposed uses do require the filling of wetlands. Could they be mitigated? Sure, they could be mitigated, but they should be avoided altogether. Those wetlands do not need to be filled for this type of use on this site. So this is an example of a scale and scope that is inappropriate for these properties. It does not mean that the island does not deserve health care. The island definitely deserves health care. That's not the issue. This is a land use and land planning issue. If the developer would be open to reimagining the plans and suggest something at a scope and scale that's more appropriate, we would be happy to have those conversations. The staff and the planning commission's decision. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Roberta Nelson, Guy Sansone, Frutal Blatcher.
Good evening.
I implore you, please do not pass this ordinance, pass this project. I live right across the road from this project, and my family owns property across the street behind that project. I have witnessed the change in the property since they've been there. Seemed like it's dry, the property has gotten dried up. Like I said, you know, there used to be frogs tweaking. I don't even hear that anymore. My son lives back there, and he heard all this noise for the last year. I guess they're grinding roots. I don't know what he was doing. I guess taking trees down and grinding roots early in the morning. Trucks coming in and out, taking trees and grinding roots and stuff like that. We don't need change like that in our area. I have medical issues for years. I go West Ashley and I go downtown. I arrange my schedule to go there, and I still work. I just, you know, I go like 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock or 12 o'clock, whatever. I arrange my schedule to go. I know a lot of people that has serious issues. I go to the cancer center on West Ashley, and sometimes I go downtown. I have a blood issue. So I find a way to get off the island. It is hard, so I leave the house early so I could go back and forth. So yeah, I know we need medical. I'm glad the medical is coming. And Dr. Perez is a very good doctor, and that's where I go. I have a dentist there at Freshfields, so I find a way to get around. It is hard getting in and off the island, but to have all these developers come in, this was going on for a couple of years now, and they've bought more property. So they got money. It's about money and development.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson.
Guy Sansone, Frutal Blatcher, Beverly Zimmerman.
Council, men and women, thank you for your time and your service. Guy Sansone, 129 Ocean Course Drive, Key Island. I am a 30-year healthcare executive. I have run healthcare organizations, hospitals, outpatient facilities, services, home health, you name it. I've had my hands in it over 30 years. I understand the healthcare ecosystem. And I'm going to talk about two things. One, I've been on Key Island since 2003. Part-time first, full-time since 2019. We've all seen the changes. We've all seen the growth, not just out in the islands, but in West Ashley, in James Island, on Johns Island, in Mount Pleasant. I remember Mount Pleasant was about 10,000 people in 2000. It's almost 100,000 people today. The growth inside of the loop, outside of the islands, has been tremendous, and that's part of this. I urge you to keep up with the infrastructure needs, and this is an infrastructure need to bring access to health care out to that portion of Johns Island, whether it's servicing the island communities or it's servicing greater Johns Island. Now, as for the healthcare ecosystem, with all due respect, MUSC is a state institution. We don't know if, when, or how some facility will be built. In all due respect, 15,000 square feet, and I don't think it is 15,000 square feet for outpatient services. 15,000 square feet is maybe 5 offices, ladies and gentlemen. Let's be honest, I'm in this business. It's about 3,000 square foot per office. We have to have all of the outpatient services that approach and save lives ahead of time, that address healthcare needs ahead of time, that are proactive to all the people that have spoken. I myself have blood issues. This project will provide infrastructure for MUSC, for Roper, for Trident, for all physicians, and for all people. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Frutal Blatcher, Beverly Zimmerman, Chris Benson.
Well, clearly my penmanship is not as good as I think. It's Frank Blatcher. Thank you. I'm 344 Governor's Drive, Key Island, Johns Island. Wow. Listening to the sides and the positions of the people that you're hearing from tonight, I understand the difficult position you're in. I'm here not as a professional in capacity, but as a concerned citizen and in support of the Health and Wellness Village. I know that the area is acutely in need of a facility of this type. Where it goes, part of the decision. How close can it be to people on Kiowa and Seabrook? I don't know. This location for me personally, and I'm trying to make it broader than just me, but this location for me personally is very convenient because it would only take me about 25 minutes to get there from my home, maybe 20 if there's no traffic, instead of the hour and 10 that it usually takes me to get to any medical professional that I go to see, in this area. And that's, 2 hours plus each way, or total round trip. I commend the council, I commend the participants that are involved in this to get together in any way is permitted under the ordinances, under the way that this governance works, because there's a way to get this done. And I commend that be done, as opposed to listening to people say, this is a fake project, there'll never be a health and wellness center. I've seen that in writing, and it makes me ill because I hear the other people saying, we've been saying to everyone this is a health and wellness project. Well, let's make it a health and wellness project then. Let's remove any doubt that might exist, and if that's where we're going, let's get it done. But that seems to be where we are, and I think that's in the best interest of the community. So thank you for your time, and I wish you luck with the decisions you have.
Thank you, sir.
Beverly Zimmerman, Chris Benson, Mara McIlvain.
Hi, I'm Beverly Zimmerman. I live at 1923 Bohicket Road, Johns Island, and I have for 3 years. I'm a mental health provider, licensed as well. I'm a mother, a wife, and I feel very strongly about this. I believe that overall wellness and community efforts combined with government can create those opportunities. I am not an authority on the location, zoning, or anything else that's been talked about here. I do struggle with traffic just like everybody else, but I do believe wellness and well-being are directly connected to physical well-being. More acute care, more mental, MUSC, trying it, that's great, we'll have that. But we need overall innovative, evidence-based, integrative well-being, wholeness care. This is an opportunity for this community to stand up and grow and take care of itself in conjunction with government versus being led by government or being unvoiced, or that's not even a word probably, but they don't have a voice. I see it every day. There are no walk spaces. There are no environmental spaces that I can even walk my dog on Bohicket Road. Yes, we have problems, but it is us as a community that can contribute to uplifting that. So I am in full support, and I beg you to please endorse this effort. It may not be the right space, but it is needed in this community. We have everything else, but we do not have the answer to the inequality of the impoverished community here. We need education resources. We need so much more. And I know I'm running out of time, and I really thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Zimmerman.
Chris Benson, Mara McIlvain, Brad Belt.
Hi, my name is Chris Benson. I'm at 991 White Point Boulevard. I just wanted to voice my opinion. I am in full support of this project. My wife is a physical therapist at Roper Hospital, and she sees a lot of patients. She's been at Roper for over 25 years. She's probably treated some of you people in here, who knows, but I do know that she sees a lot of patients from Kiowa, Seabrook, and Johns Island, and a lot of those patients, the one common denominator is they've all expressed the concern how long a drive it is to make their appointment to fight traffic on Johns Island and then to find a parking space downtown at the hospital. So that's one aspect of why I support this. The other aspect is I I find it interesting that MUSC is offering a 15,000 square foot building. There are houses twice that size on Kiowa with no opposition or no environmental opposition. So I find that a little odd that that's an issue. Anyway, I just wanted to express my opinion, and I know you guys have a tough job. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Marl McAvane, Brad Belt, John Skircher.
Good evening. Maura McIlvaine, 146 Blue Heron Pond Road in Kiowa. This has been a really interesting session. All of the people who've come forward and talked about we need doctors. I have cancer. I have diabetes. My mother has Alzheimer's. And they think this facility might be their answer. And I think that's really what came into focus. No one knows exactly what a health and wellness center is. No one knows what's really going to be built in this center. No one's accusing, I think no one's accusing the developer of a bait and switch, but no one really knows what's going in to this building. And if the developer changes its mind after redevelopment, after a zoning change is agreed to, who knows what the successor owner would put in there. So I think you're left with people need more medical facilities, but is this really going to be the one? Or is it going to be a Medi-Spa? And is it going to be a PT place? And the problem is no one really knows what's committed to here. Just changing the zoning is going to open up everyone's hope that it's got their diabetes cure for them, or their cancer cure, or their Alzheimer's treatment there. But is it really going to have all that? Could it possibly have all of the answers to all of the medical needs, or even half of them? Thank you.
Thank you.
Brad Belt, John Skircher, Jill Skircher.
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, good evening. My name is Brad Belt, 151 Bobcat. I'm also a member of the Town of Kiowa Island Council. The council has not determined to take a formal position on this project yet, so I'm representing my personal views and the views of the constituents of Kiowa Island. The staff reported today on the results of the survey that the town undertook that nearly 80% of the town's residents are opposed to this project as proposed. There is a reason that 80% of the town's residents are opposed to this project as proposed. There's a reason that the staff recommended against approval. There's a reason that the Planning Commission voted 7-0 against approval. And it is not opposition to the idea of having more accessible health care services on Johns Island and near to the Sea Islands. That's not the issue that is in front of us right now. It is with regard to the scope and scale of this project and the range of permitted uses. 14 multi-story buildings, 18 dwelling units, 557 parking places, a 2+ acre septic field. That's the issue on Betsy Carrison. For comparison purposes, everybody's talked about the MUSC facility, which is actually going to be 22,000 square feet. This is 7 times that. Do we really need the equivalent of 8 MUSC facilities in close proximity to Kiowa Island and Seabrook? Think about it in terms of being 80% of Freshfields Village. Take out the Harris Teeter, every other single store in Freshfield Village then would supposedly be devoted to medical-related services. That's the scope and scale of this project. There is an opportunity here. There is a need.
The community has dictated this.
I would simply conclude, Mr. Chairman, members of the council, that we have a viable model to how to move forward. That's what happened with Andel West. The developer in that instance, when there was a vote of disapproval, it was only a 4-4 vote, withdrew the application, sat down with the community, and hammered out a project that was revised and embraced by the community. I publicly and privately encouraged the developer to do that. I will continue to do so. I think there is an opportunity. This particular application does not meet that opportunity. We need to sit down and start over again. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, sir.
John Skircher, Jill Skircher, Tori Lancaster.
Mr. Chairman, members of council, thank you for your time and your service. We'll probably get into more of the technicals at the Public Works Committee, and we certainly appreciate all the public input to date. And looking across the room, there are many people that are neighbors of ours and friends of ours. I am an owner of the property, and I represent the ownership for this project. I would like to just address two things. I think there's been a misinformation that has really broadly become very much out of control. And part of that is because, as Mr. Williams explained earlier today, is that we've been working with staff for 2 years. And these people have been, for the most part, Joel and Andrea, have been working with us right from pre-conference hearing. This is an innovative project. There is an ecosystem in healthcare that is transitioning from just focusing on treating the sick to a value-based one that teaches people to live healthy and well. And along with that comes specialty practices. The staff did not have very specific categories to put some of these innovations in of where the healthcare trend is moving, and this is widespread across the country. And so by way of example, if we wanted to do a compounding pharmacy so people can fill prescriptions, that fell into retail. The same for biometrics, joint specialists, and so on. And so I think there is an opportunity to clarify this misinformation based upon the categories that staff put us into. Second to that, I hear a lot of talk about parking. I hear a lot of talk about the scale of this. Parking ordinances are guided by staff. This is not something we went to and wanted to have, massive amounts of pervious, impervious surfaces. As far as the scale, we have somewhere between 750,000 and 800,000
square feet. The proposal is 160, which is 20% of the land.
which further supports our Nature First program. Thank you very much for what you do.
Thank you, sir.
Jill Skircher, Tori Lancaster, John Zolgar.
Good evening. I am Jill Skirchak, and I would like to clarify the record. We actually have been in constant communications with several different medical specialists. We are going to have everything from cancer treatment centers to physical therapy, from dentists to podiatrists. So it is soup to nuts. We are not, at this point, able to disclose who these people are because we have not gotten approval from this county. From the very concept, which was 4 years ago when we purchased this property, our entire goal was to provide health and wellness and medical specialties close to home versus people having to commute up to an hour and a half away for those services. This is a quality of life project. Our heart and soul is in this. We are asking for the people to step away, stop the misinformation. We are residents, we are taxpayers, we care about the community. All we wanted to do and still want to do is to provide a development that meets the needs of the people, to curtail the traffic, to allow people to have a choice. MUSC is complementary to us. We are complementary to them. We want to provide traditional medical specialists with cutting-edge technologies, for instance, infrared saunas, oxygen chambers, electrical impulses, all kinds of things to allow one's body to heal on its own. Holistic care, homeopathic care, healthy eateries. We have extended the olive branch to the community over and over again. That's false information. We have reached out on multiple occasions to several different entities. We are good people, and I will not allow anyone to disparage us and treat us with disrespect. This has been a vision and a concept that we've had for 4 years, and we are going to make this happen for the people of the Sea Islands. Plus, the Sea Islands are going to increase in population by up to 60,000 people, according to data we've received, and we've done tons of needs assessments as well. And we need to accommodate the people, not with more housing, but with this medical health and wellness village. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Tori Lancaster, John Zolgar.
Hi, thank you. I'm ready to express my support for the development of a wellness center on Kiowa Island. As someone who works closely with the island's residents, I believe that establishing accessible healthcare facilities and holistic wellness services is a significant and positive step for the community. Recognizing the need for prompt access to healthcare services, I believe that a wellness center would benefit not only the island's current residents, but also those who work closely within the community. Most significantly, the traffic. This ultimately contributes to a decrease in traffic and congestion, which aligns with the efforts of my family, my grandparents in particular, who are natives of Johns Island, who have been advocating for less traffic flow to and from Kiowa Island for basic services since word of the notable projected increase in Kiowa residents has spread. Thank you.
Thank you.
And John Zolgar.
Good evening. John Zlogar, 5528 Frisco Lane, representing the Johns Island Task Force. The task force fully supports the medical village. I'm sorry, the medical village, the hospital on Maybank Highway. Got that one wrong. We fully support the Men USC by Freshfields. We fully support Endel West, which is going to have professional offices for medical personnel. We do not support this. What we do support is staff's recommendations and the Plan Commission's recommendation that this not go forward. Let me talk about a couple of things here. First, the Health and Wellness Village. You know, the PD, if you take the time to read the PD, it does not require any of what's being said. None of it. Okay? It can allow restaurants, general offices, general retail. As we all know, the zoning goes with the land, not the developer. Regardless of what the current business plan is, that's what the zoning would be. Restaurants, general offices, general retail. Second, the developer touts that this is inside the UGB. As someone mentioned, the UGB is kind of weird down in that part of the island. Down there, there's no sewer. Think about that. An urban area without any sewage. There's no public transportation down there. All these workers that go work there, how are they going to get there? There's no public transportation for them. There's a fear of houses here. At most, there are going to be 53 houses here. That's not a question. That's fact. 53 houses at most. As the gentleman said, the reality is there's a pipeline, a line that goes through there, power line that would limit that. And there's other things in terms of setbacks, probably a lot less than 53.
The traffic is 53 cars compared to 557
parking spaces. What's that, 10 times as much traffic? 20 times as much traffic? Huge amount of traffic. Fourth, they stated that they met with the neighbors. We just heard here, people across the street they didn't meet with. They did not meet with the task force. I'm not sure who they met with, but they certainly did not meet with the community. And finally, I just want to say, it's pronounced Wadmalaw. I hope you take the time when it comes to vote this down. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have our public comments.
Chair, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I didn't want to ask a question to the public, but to at least one of our persons. Is that permissible, sir?
Pardon me?
Is it permissible if I ask one of the staff as opposed to someone in the public a question?
I think you can.
Thank you, sir. Who made the 80%? Were they adamantly opposed to the project as a whole, or were they opposed to the project in terms of the scale?
You would have to ask the town of Kiowa Island. They're the ones who conducted that survey. They just sent us the results.
Okay. So I have to inquire of Mr. Joe. I see that you want to. Go ahead, sir.
Just exactly what Emily said.
Okay.
We received that information today from the town of Kiowa. They conducted that survey.
And they requested that it be read into the public record, which is why we included it in our.
Mr. Chairman, if it's permissible with the administrator, sir, could we perhaps find an answer, at least from my perspective, that question? Is the community adamantly opposed to the project, or is it opposed to the scale, or is there a happy medium? That in order for my vote, but
Well, I'm not sure how the poll was taken. I mean, it was a poll. It was reported to us. All right, sir, I'll give you 2 minutes. For one question, we have, this comes up next week.
yes, sir. Because again, no,
comes up
I
next
want to
week.
talk to staff, not necessarily in the public, sir. So
This
that's
comes
not on
up
me,
next
sir.
week. But we would like to know about how the poll was taken, and is it a real poll, or how was it done?
The poll, the actual poll itself and all the responses should have been provided to all of the council members. There were both the responses to kind of the yes and no questions. There was also an opportunity to provide narrative input, and about half of the respondents did so. My recollection from having gone through it this morning is that there was not necessarily complete opposition to the concept of a health and wellness village or medical services at that location. To address your specific question, Councilmember Darby, it is that the primary concerns were threefold. One, the scope and scale of the project. Two, environmental risks. And three, traffic-related concerns. But I think both in terms of people who actually voted in favor of it, some of them expressed, I'm actually in favor if it's reduced in scope and scale. I believe, as I stated, and I would hope that the developer would embrace this, that there is an opportunity for the community and the developer to come together and actually reach a consensus on a project which is scaled down for what was proposed, and that includes more restrictions on the allowed uses by right going forward, and that can better address some of the environmental concerns. And if we're able to sit down and have that conversation and a real negotiation, just as occurred between Riverstone and the community with respect to Ando West, I think there's an opportunity for a win-win situation. That's not where we're at now, right now. So, thank you.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
I know that we got a notification from y'all late this afternoon about the poll, about the results.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we wouldn't have had time to read it. So if we don't have it, could you make sure that we get it so that it can be distributed to council and to staff?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman, but I believe there was a link to the entirety of the poll in what was sent to you earlier today. But if that is not the case, absolutely, we'll make sure that you have all the detail underpinning that. And I think in particular, all the written comments are extraordinarily informative on both sides of that question.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair.
Chairman,
Oh, okay, Mr. Pryor.
someone referenced about 80 signatures that were in favor. Did we receive those signatures today? And if we did, why weren't that included?
We did, and they were provided to you within the public comment.
But it wasn't in the presentation.
It was listed as, it was all included in one email, so we listed it as one letter of support.
But you didn't specify, and it was 80 signatures. That made it sound
No, we did
like-
not.
Yeah, and why wouldn't we say 80 signatures versus to just one response?
We were notified that one letter or one email had been received, and so we listed it as one email, and we will break it out into the 80 signatures.
I understand what you're saying, but it would be helpful if it had said one email with 80 signatures saying that they were in favor.
The email had an attachment with the 80 signatures, which was provided to you, but because it was in one email, it was listed as one letter in support.
But what I'm saying, it wasn't in the presentation. It makes it seem like it would be hidden. That's all
It
I'm
was
saying.
not in the presentation.
Right, and it should
Right.
have been in the presentation.
Yes, yeah.
Just like the 80%
Which
that
we
was
will now
against.
do.
Yeah, okay.
Hold on.
All right. Let me ask just one question. So would the applicants and the community be willing to get together and, make some kind of concession? We did it with Andel West, and I hear the gentleman said, Mr. Belt said they're willing. So is the applicant willing to meet with these folks and then come back to us in a period of time? Is that agreeable or permissible? I just want to ask that question, Mr. Chairman.
I think that would be agreeable as long as it's a reasonable time frame. Councilmember Belk, we have met several times. We've done a couple of town hall meetings, which I know this is an unincorporated incorporated Charleston County, but we were willing to do that and extend the olive branch. So as long as we can come up with a reasonable time frame, I think we will welcome the opportunity.
Well, that sounds good. So maybe y'all can come back to planning and tell us what a reasonable time frame is for y'all to have discussion. Mr. Boykin?
Mr. Chairman, may I raise a point of order?
Yes, sir.
All this is fine for
Right.
Planning and Public Works
Right.
Committee. This is not how we conduct business at
Correct.
public hearings. We're not to engage the public, and I would bring that point of order, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
To be appropriate, Mr. Chair, for these questions to be asked in this way, because if indeed the parties can go back, and we've done that before
Right.
in this same type of forum, in my almost 4 years of being here. And so I have also seen by allowing, the parties to go back in a time frame that has been set in parameters that are certainly reasonable, that they have come back amicably. I've done it in my own district with issues or projects that have been, and the council itself told me to go back and facilitate the conversations. And so that has happened, and it's appropriate.
Thank you, sir, Mr. Middleton. I think that we've said enough. I think that the parties can talk. If they want to come back with something else, that's great. The ball's in their court. But you're supposed to come back at the end of this month at our next meeting, so you need to let us know. You need to let planning know what your decision is, or you're on the schedule for the next council meeting. Thank you very much. Next item is council comments, public comments for county council.
We have one person signed up, Anthony G. Bryant.
Oh, he's still here.
He's here.
I think Mr. Bryant left.
Oh, he's here.
Okay. Mr. Bryant.
Wow. The only one. C-245, Department of Revenue, I did a protest.
Brian, can you hold until the noise leaves, please, if you don't mind?
Appreciate you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, please pardon if I spoke out of turn, sir. I just find it interesting to hear Mr. Bryan. Didn't mean to speak out of turn, sir. And Mr. Boykin, I didn't talk to the public, sir. I spoke to. Yes, sir. I just want to put that in the record, sir.
Yes, sir. Wow.
All right, Mr. Bryant, do you have a microphone up there?
I do. I have one. Yeah.
All right, so good. Let's hear from you.
I remember I came to this council chamber when I was a young man and sat right there, never thinking in a million years I had to file a C-245 protest at the Department of Revenue, and that my corporation that I hand you a card for was non-compliant for 30 years. That then exposes me to litigation, exposes me to an investigation of a number of issues. On December the 4th, I went into North Charleston City Council meeting. At that time, it was a threat to R.B. Stahl High School at that time. And if I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, I could have been a suspect, because I have a lawsuit against Instagram right now. So I could actually be in violation of community standards do that. And being a former board member and voting on cell towers, I know the consequences of that. So at the end of the day, this is real for me. This ain't no joke. When a school district has got 50,000 with students, 4,000 employees, with a judge you had here talking about to the Fourth Circuit, O'Connell v. Mason, threatening a public official in 4 states. When I made public comment to Commissioner of Law Enforcement Agencies, Inc. in 2016 and 17, doing Emanuel, and against the FBI and its handling of Emanuel's case in Dillon Roof, and I made public comment against what's going on in Palestine right now at City Council, to the FBI, Homeland Security, anybody come and arrest me right now. But would I be afraid of that? No. Never. If I do anything wrong, I never said I did anything wrong, period. I served in this council, in this board, under Senator Tim Scott, who called Palestinians deplorables. Okay, how can he come from a Christian faith system, of forgiveness and not forgive those who may have hurt 1,000 human beings for 20,000 human beings and 2 million that are caught.
Thank you, sir. That being the last public comment, only one, after about 37 earlier, or 40. We will go to our county council agenda. I'd like to recognize Ms. Johnson here tonight, former council member, and Mr. Mitchum. And Mr. Mitchum. Ms. Mitchum, do you have anything to say? No, that's fine. That's fine. Thank you very much.
We take like a 2-minute break. If you want, you don't have to.
I think we can.
Okay.
Let's see. First thing is we're going to do a prayer and Mr. Moody and a pledge led by Mr. Smalls.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this glorious day. We thank you for the engaged citizenry that comes out to speak about their community. We thank you for the staff, this dedicated staff who helps this county run so efficiently. We thank you for the time that this council offers to try to guide this county in the best way. We thank you again for the holiday season, and be most thankful we live in a country where we can all celebrate those different holidays we observe. We ask you to give us wisdom to do your will. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you.
You're there.
Mr. Kobrovsky.
I just wanted to, since this is the sixth night of Hanukkah, the chairman's graciously allowed me to light the candles. I just like to do that. And
You gonna sing?
as part of the prayer, I can say it.
Sing, yeah. Let's sing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, yeshudekanu b'tzmanu hadlik ner shel Hanukkah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shahim nasim habotana bayam hazman b'zman hazeh. And this is the sixth night. And you like the main one, and then you go from Thank you for allowing me to do this, Chairman, and I'm honored to live in a county where we support good against evil. And as I always like to say, that no other place in America has been as open and hospitable to the Jewish community as our state and our county or city and our country. And I'm always eternally grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Freedom of Information Act.
In compliance with the Freedom of Information Act, notice of meeting was posted and agendas were distributed to news media and persons requesting notification.
Thank you. Minutes of November 14th and November 30th.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Moody, seconded. Any questions, deletions? All in favor say aye.
Commendation to the clerk and her staff.
Thank you.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Item number 3, recognitions and resolutions. International Economic Development Council Award for the economic development of Charleston County. Ms. Richardson.
Hi. Good evening. How are y'all? Thank you for letting us come. Steve sends his regrets. He's very excited to talk to you about this tonight. He did prepare a script.
Do not tell him I am not reading. A couple months back, the International Economic Development Council awarded our department with the Silver Award for cross-boundary regionalism. And it was for our Tri-County Immersion program. My colleague here, Jay Kramer, is passing out the annual report that highlights the 2023 program. Essentially what it is 6 years ago, our friend Wendy Smith, who is the former Deputy Director of Dorchester County Economic Development, came up with this wonderful idea to train the trainer program. So she brought in her partners, Charleston County, Berkeley County, and the South Carolina Department of Commerce. So each summer for 2 weeks, we ask teachers and counselors to come meet with industry. So we connect them with our companies, some of our biggest manufacturers that are here, to learn more about STEM and how to incorporate it into the classroom to build the next generation of workforce and how to incorporate the real world into classrooms. It's been a huge success. We just wrapped up the sixth year. We're very thankful for all of the companies that have participated, particularly Boeing, the Ports Authority, Ingredion, Ingevity, Electric Company, Urban Electric Company, and ICL, and some others. So please hold the date if anyone is interested, even though the whole room left, for any educators that want to participate. June 17th is the program for the upcoming year. But we just really appreciate y'all supporting our program. Workforce development is absolutely key to have economic development success in our county. We'll continue to partner in programs like this to ensure we are creating the best talent for not only our workforce or for our companies that are here today, but for those that are here tomorrow. So happy to answer any questions, but here is our beautiful award from IEDC, and we're very proud to share this with Dorchester County and Berkeley County. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Third reading ordinances, Golden Grove Development Agreement. Second Amendment. Ordinance, third reading.
An ordinance approving the Second Amendment to the Golden Grove Development Agreement. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Ms. Honeycutt's absent. Mr. Kabrowski?
Nay.
Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Pryor?
Aye.
Mr. Werman? Mr. Sass?
Aye.
The ordinance passes third reading with 7 ayes, 1 nay, 1 absent.
Thank you.
Ms. Salisbury, I just want the record to reflect that I am present.
Okay, are you voting with us?
I would vote aye if I'm permitted.
Okay. All right. Then Mrs. Honeycutt's present.
Thank you,
She's
Ms.
voting
Honeycutt.
aye. So it still passes third reading, and the vote is 8 ayes and 1 nay.
Thank you. Multi-County Industrial Park incentives for properties located within a tax increment finance district, third reading.
An ordinance to further amend the agreement for the establishment of a multi-county industrial business park for properties located in a redevelopment project area by and between Charleston County, South Carolina, and Colleton County, South Carolina, providing for the development of a multi-county industrial business park so as to include additional property in Charleston County as part of the multi-county industrial park. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Mr. Kabrowski?
Nay.
Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Pryor?
Aye.
Mr. Werman?
Aye.
Mr. Sass?
Aye.
Ordinance passes third reading with 8 ayes and 1 nay.
2023 Business License Ordinance Amendments, third reading.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 2185, the business license ordinance of the County of Charleston, adopted December 7th, 2021, to update the class schedule as required by the South Carolina Business License Tax Standardization Act. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Mr. Kabrowski?
Aye.
Mr. Middleton? Mr. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Pryor?
Aye.
Mr. Werman?
Aye.
Mr. Sass?
Aye.
The ordinance passes third reading with 9 ayes.
Thank you. Second reading ordinance, multi-county industrial park incentives, affordable housing.
An ordinance to establish pursuant to Section 4-1-170 of the Code of Laws of South Carolina 1976, as amended, a multi-county business park in conjunction with Colleton County, South Carolina, to provide for a written agreement with Colleton County as to the sharing of the revenues and expenses of the park, to provide for the distribution of revenues from the park among taxing entities having jurisdiction over the park, to provide for a fee in lieu of ad valorem taxation and other matters related thereto, with the right to amend up to third reading. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Mr. Kabrowski?
Nay.
Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Pryor? Mr. Werman?
Aye.
Mr. Sass?
Aye.
The ordinance passes second reading with 8 ayes and 1 nay.
ZLDR, second reading ordinances, boarding stables in rural areas.
An ordinance amending the Charleston County Zoning and Land Development Regulations Ordinance Number 1202 as amended to create the boarding stable use to be allowed with conditions in the rural area, and clarify the definitions for different classifications of stables at the following document locations: Chapter 6, Use Regulations, and Chapter 12, Definitions, with the right to amend up to third reading. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Mr. Kabrowski?
Aye.
Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Pryor?
No.
Mr. Werman?
Aye.
Mr. Pryor? I'm sorry, Mr. Sass?
Aye.
The ordinance passes second reading with 8 ayes and 1 nay.
I'd like 2 votes if you give them to me.
Number 6B, small-scale mining operations, ordinance, second reading.
An ordinance amending the Charleston County Zoning and Land Development Regulations Ordinance Number 1202 as amended to exempt small-scale excavation and grading activities for residential and agricultural uses from the conditions for large-scale commercial resource extraction at the following document locations: Chapter 6, Use Regulations, with the right to amend up to third reading. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Mr. Kabrowski?
Nay.
Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Pryor?
No.
Mr. Werman?
Aye.
Mr. Sass?
Aye.
The ordinance passes second reading with 7 ayes and 2 nay.
Okay, 6C, bicycle parking, ordinance, second reading.
An ordinance amending the Charleston County Zoning and Land Development Regulations Ordinance Number 1202 as amended to require bicycle parking for certain developments at the following document locations: Chapter 9, Development Standards, with the right to amend up to third reading. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Mr. Kabrowski?
Aye.
Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Pryor?
Aye.
Mr. Werman?
Aye.
Mr. Sass?
Aye.
The ordinance passes second reading with 9 ayes.
6D, scenic road rights-of-way trees clarification, ordinance, second reading.
An ordinance amending the Charleston County Zoning and Land Development Regulations Ordinance Number 1202 as amended to clarify tree protection requirements within designated scenic rights-of-way at the following document locations: Chapter 8, Subdivision Regulations, Chapter 9, Development Requirements, and Chapter 12, Definitions, with the right to amend up to third reading. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Darby?
Nay.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
I'm going to go nay on this one.
Mr. Kabrowski?
I'll go nay on it.
Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Pryor?
No.
Mr. Werman? Mr. Sass?
Aye.
The ordinance passes second reading with 5 ayes and 4
Mr.
nays.
Salisbury, change that to aye for me. I'm thinking about the wrong thing.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Rob.
So 6 ayes and 3 nays.
This is not the Public Works recommendation.
Number 6E, parking clarifications, ordinance, second reading.
Oh, I was mixed up too on this one. I like to switch my vote to aye in that one. I was thinking ahead, so
Okay.
please forgive me.
Yes, sir.
I was thinking of the next one.
Okay. So that's 7 ayes and 2 nays.
That was 6D, right?
Yes, sir, 6D. Okay. An ordinance amending the Charleston County Zoning and Land Development Regulations, ordinance number 1202 as amended, to remove redundant language to clarify parking requirements at the following document locations. Chapter 9 Development Standards with the right to amend up to third reading. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Mr. Kabrowski?
Aye.
Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Pryor?
Aye.
Mr. Werman? Mr. Sass?
Aye.
The ordinance passes second reading with 9 ayes.
Thank you. Committee recommendations with first reading, Board of Assessment Appeals Ordinance Amendments.
Move for committee recommendation.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Moody, seconded by Mr. Middleton. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
I need to read the ordinance.
Yeah.
An ordinance amending Charleston County Code Article 4 of Chapter 19, Taxation.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
move to approve 8A.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Middleton, seconded by Mr. Pryor. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very
Chair.
much. Yes, sir.
Move 9A through 9J for
Second.
approval.
Moved by Mr. Pryor, seconded by Mr. Middleton. There is a question.
Chairman, can I call for make a motion on 9J? I'm not sure about the procedure. And for 9A through 9I, I would vote for the consent.
The motion is on the floor to approve.
We can exclude J, but
Okay.
if he wants to vote on J, we go 9A through I, but I still make J move for approval.
Yes, sir.
All right, sir. So A through I. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. All right, 9J, Charleston County Parks and
Approval.
Recreation.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Pryor, seconded by Mr. Boykin.
Do we have a discussion on that?
You have a discussion? You want to bring up something?
I just do, I think on 9J, I was not aware that there was an opening that somebody had resigned or it came up. I just thought that it'd be appropriate to, if we can entertain a motion, if there was a second, or to revisit that for more applicants.
So did we not
That's
choose Leslie Scardin for that position? And
We did.
There were more applicants in that contest, and so she was not the only person. So please, could you
understand.
clarify why you would like for it to be
I just
reopened?
would like, my own personal thing, I didn't know that was open. I would have liked more time for other applicants to come forward. There were 2 people.
So, Miss, more than 2, you're saying?
Correct.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Mr. Pryor?
Once you come out of committee, it's a recommendation, there can't be any changes.
That's what our rule is. Yes, sir.
That's our rule.
Mr. Kabrowski?
One or two we couldn't.
Mr. Kabrowski, the filing period was open. 2 people applied. They had good applications. They got voted on. One won, one didn't.
I understand.
So, this council we went through some wars on this in the past, and so our policy has been through the Rules Committee that once we go through the committee on these and we decide on them, they just move to council and we'll move them forward unless something came up that we needed to discuss.
Yes.
And I have not seen that tonight. So, thank you. Mr. Moody?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just going to expand upon what Mr. Pryor had mentioned. The clerk advertises these things. It goes to the newspaper. It goes out on social media. I will typically push it out on my social media as well to say, hey, these positions are open. We have historically, Mr. Gabrowski, have had more people apply for PRC than we had this time. It just so happened that 2 people applied, and we picked one we thought was the better of the 2. And so, as far as I'm concerned, that's the end of it. But we've had a pretty good run here the last couple of years of all of our commission seats being full of very qualified applications. So only having 2 for a very popular commission was a little disappointing, but it was a little surprising, but it is what it is.
Right.
I understand. Just respectfully, put in my position, I understand.
Let's call for the question, call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8 ayes and 1 nay. Yes, sir.
Move for committee recommendations 10A through C.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Middleton, seconded by Mr. Boykin. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. I would like to point out that Ms. Honeycutt has been with us, I believe, the whole meeting, and she's voted.
Yes, I have.
So I think she's en route from Charleston to New York, and I think that's pretty cool. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, not to prolong the meeting, but I'm so impressed with the way Ms. Honeycutt was able to engage, participate, and was present for this meeting tonight, did not miss a beat, and was able even to offer additional points of clarification when needed. So, Ms. Honeycutt, I'm so happy. Mr. Werman gave it a run last week, but I think that this is the way to do it.
Well, Reverend Middleton, thank you for recognizing that. And here we are in the 21st century.
Yes.
Here we are.
Thank you for being present.
Do you have a council comment, or was that your council?
That was my comment. And along with that, to Mr. Kabrowski and all of our Jewish brothers and sisters during this Festival of Lights, I am so in awe of your bold proclamation of faith tonight, and certainly stand in solidarity with the Jewish people, and certainly all of the tenets that go along with each of the lighting of the candles on that menorah are in line with my faith and certainly with my principles and beliefs and value system. And so thank you for being bold, unashamed, and not afraid to proclaim just what you did tonight, because that certainly expands our understanding of inclusivity in Charleston County.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had asked Mr. Kabrowski if he was going to sing the blessing. He politely declined, but that would have been excellent. But thank you for sharing that with us. Just one comment. I wanted to thank the staff, Mr. Tootin, and council members. I see Ms. Johnson's been there, big supporter of 526. We had a big day in Columbia last week with the Joint Bond Review Commission. So all those that could attend, was great to see such a large turnout for what I think is probably the most impactful project in my lifetime as far as infrastructure goes. So I just wanted to thank the staff for being prepared and present. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Darby? Yes, sir. Mr. Kabrowski?
I want to thank Reverend Middleton for his remarks and heartfelt thank you. I'm honored that you said that, and thank you. And to Brian, I was in the Cabbage Patch in grade school where they made the ones who couldn't sing stand up in front of the class, and I think if my life depended on it, I couldn't sing in public to this day. But this was very meaningful to me. This was the menorah in my family probably for close to 200 years, and was brought over by my great-grandparents, and they could never imagine that when they came over penniless in a foreign country and from a place they couldn't even dream of being in a place of government, the fact that I would be here doing this, and so it's a great honor for me to share that. And I used the prayer book given to me by my grandparents on my bar mitzvah. This is like 60-some years old, and well, not that old, 55. But I also want to thank the staff today for, I know I've been very strong on the trees, and I thought that the change that they made was a positive one. So what we passed today was a good thing. And I just briefly wanted to comment on I know we couldn't make a public comment, but I heard thank each and every one of the people that came out on all sides for the public hearing today. But I can't help but notice with 573 parking spaces that would be turned over several times a day, and we're here, most of what we deal with is traffic and congestion and all the money we're going to spend, that versus 53 homes would be an inconceivable amount of additional traffic and congestion in an area where we heard, and I read the poll, and I think it was over 800 people responded. That's a lot of people, and 80% said that they were very concerned and wouldn't want that there. So that was an impressive public response. I heard everybody that I'm sure all want to look at all sides and listen, but I just had a comment on that. And having lived here for over 40 years and seen places where the roads are narrow and huge amounts of development, however well intended, coming in without the infrastructure in place adds to the misery and congestion in time, and things that look bad can always be made worse. And I just think, I always thought that when I was running for this and living through this, that I couldn't imagine how these things took place. And East Cooper and Mathis Ferry Road, Rifle Range Road, all Highway 17. Things changed. My wife was born on Highway 17 in a general store there, and 2 cars passed a day. Now it's unbelievable. And the Mathis Ferry or Rifle Range, those were built for 2 roads, 2 lanes, and I see this as more of the same. And again, things that are bad can always be made worse. But again, I want to thank the living in Charleston, which has always been a home to us, and no other place in the world has been as hospitable. And I just would like to share briefly, I was on Sunday, we lit the menorah on Marion Square, and the governor was there, his wife, his daughter, his grandson, and son-in-law, our U.S. Senator Tim Scott, our Congresswoman, and our mayor and mayor-elect. And that, to me, was an unbelievable showing that they believed in good against evil in times of evil. And the last thing that they sang, and since Councilman Moody brought it up, that there was a song that Jewish people have sung for 1,000 years after they light the candles, and is commemorating that God saved us from our captivity in Babylonia, from the Exodus from Egypt, and when in Persia they were going to exterminate us, and we sing that. But it's thanking God for salvation for each of those times, but also to recognize that evil is always with us in every time, and this is such a time. And I thank Charleston for standing with us, and thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Werman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just also thank Councilman Kabrowski for sharing his faith with us, and would thank all the folks who came out to engage in a very robust public comment process. Looking forward to the discussion when we take that up. But that will be it.
Yes, sir. Mr. Pryor?
Yes, a few things, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know the Northbridge application for the Northbridge pedestrian and bike way, it has to be done by February. Is anybody on staff working on reapplying for that application, Mr. Tootin?
Not that I'm aware of, sir, but I'll find out for sure.
I would like to find out, and if we can have that happen, because I think we're in a good shape now to have this money come in. At the last time, the congressman said we got it in late, so we didn't get anything, and then I think this time around it said he had a few things we had to clean up, and I spoke to Ms. Zimmerman on last week, I believe it was, and she said she's been working with them, and we've got what they needed to be, cleaned up. So I would like, if all possible, to maybe get it back on the agenda, Mr. Chairman, so we could vote on whether to put that application in. And I don't think it'll cost us the money that we paid before, because basically it's the same application with just a few more adjustments. So I think staff, and probably working with Ms. Zimmerman and her group, probably can do that. So could someone reach out to her, and then we get that on the agenda before, the deadline in February. That's the Northbridge project. That touches Mr. Moody and my district, and so that's why I'm more in support of this. But I just want to get the application in, because I think it's $34 million. That's a lot of money to have come in, and we don't want to lose track of that. Secondly, I've been getting calls from the folks in the Northwood area, and I think Mr. Darby has too, about the noise barrier. Those folks are upset because the vegetation was cut down for the project on Parramatta, the Ingleside interchange, and they can't sleep at night because of the noise. So, Steve, I'm going to ask you this question: have we factored in any noise barrier for those folks on the right-hand side? When I drove that area Saturday, on this side, coming east, you really wouldn't need one because there's nothing there. But the trees that we removed, you can see the houses now, and so what can we do to put up some type of noise barrier? And it doesn't have to be these big cinder block ones. They got all kind now. It's made out of plastic and different material. But we have to do something, because those folks, you know, between the state and what we've done, there's a lot of noise, and you can't sleep at night, and these folks are calling. Mr. Darby, I think you got some calls, and you met with some of the people as well. So can we look into, and you can get some answers and get back to me, but I would like to see something done, because that is affecting some of our constituents now, and we hearing the noise, and that is our project.
Yes, sir, it is our project. We did the required noise studies before the project began in accordance with the federal rules. The noise walls did not, what they call reasonable and feasible. In other words, the cost was way too much to warrant installation of the noise walls. Council can do, we can approach the DOT and see if they would allow us to put a noise wall in there right away. In the past, they have told us no, they wouldn't allow it, which means we would have to encroach on those homes further.
I don't think they would mind, but can you look into that? Because, I mean, and outgoing Councilwoman Jameson has been working tirelessly with North Charleston and the state, as well as the county. But I just think, just have them say, well, we cut down the trees and ain't nothing we can do about it. I mean, I wouldn't want to live next to the interstate. That's why the trees and the vegetation was put there in the beginning, you know, to cut down on the noise. But and it really looks bad. I mean, but anyway, if you could look into that, I really would appreciate it, and then you can get me some information on that
Yes, sir,
as
we'll
well.
look into it.
And I agree with the discussion tonight. We had 17 for and 16 against, and, you know, that's pretty close. But if those folks can get together and come up with a compromise, I think it's a win-win situation for everybody. But I was writing down, I saw Joe was writing down as well, too, for and against, and I came up with 17 for and 16 against. And so that's pretty close. And so we want to make sure we do what's right for everybody, and let's be fair about it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Boykin.
Reserve my comments for the Planning and Public Works Committee.
Thank you. Ms. Honeycutt.
Yes, sir. I did want to address, it was very important for me to attend tonight, and I was on actually the public account during the period I was flying to Atlanta, and heard all of the public comments. And what I gather from this is there is an opportunity for the developer to go back to the community, and he has expressed a willingness to do so. And my hope is we could have the same result, which was a unanimous council support for Andel West in this project, if it is, you know, size and scope specific. So I appreciate the efforts being made to do that. Also want to wish everyone a happy Hanukkah and a Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tootin.
Nothing here, sir.
Ms. Ham? No. Thank you all. Very constructive meeting. I think that the two parties, the two sides had to kind of hear it, and it'll make them pay attention. And so let's see what they come back with. I think that's a good solution. We've done it in the past. As Mr. Darby always says, we need to get everybody talking. And if everybody's talking, at least we can figure it out. So thank you all very much. Mr. Kowalski, thank you very much. Enjoyed being with you tonight, and enjoyed being with this council. Thank you all very much. Good night.
Yes, sir.